place. The sharp sound of Madison Whitmore's laughter ripped through Judge Judy's courtroom with the kind of arrogance that instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. It was not a nervous laugh. It was not awkward embarrassment. It was cruel, theatrical, place. Mocking laughter loud enough for every microphone to capture perfectly. Place. The 24-year-old daughter of one of Manhattan's most feared defense attorneys leaned back in her chair after Judge Judy calmly instructed her to remove her oversized Gucci sunglasses inside the courtroom. The cameras captured everything. Place. Every flash of her perfect smile, every smug tilt of her chin, every dismissive movement of her hand as she slowly lowered the sunglasses, just enough to peer over them at Judge Judy, like she was looking down at someone beneath her status. Place. And in that exact moment, Madison believed she had already won. What she did not know was that those few seconds of laughter would become one of the most replayed courtroom moments in television history. What she did not know was that within weeks, place, her father's entire multi-million-dollar legal empire would begin collapsing because of that moment alone. Place. And what Madison absolutely did not know was that Judge Judy had already spent the previous night reviewing a confidential file tied directly to the Whitmore family, a file someone had tried very hard to bury forever. Place. Madison entered the courtroom that morning looking less like a defendant and more like a celebrity arriving at a Manhattan fashion event. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never truly faced consequences in her entire life. Place. Her designer blazer, expensive jewelry, luxury handbag, and perfectly styled appearance all projected the same message: untouchable. Place. A chauffeur had dropped her off in a luxury Bentley directly outside the courthouse entrance, while two of her closest friends followed closely behind, filming everything for social media. Madison's followers were already waiting online, place, expecting another entertaining display of wealthy confidence from the girl who openly treated rules like suggestions for ordinary people. Madison Whitmore had nearly 350,000 followers watching her life online. Place. She was known for luxury vacations, expensive shopping sprees, yacht parties, and captions dripping with entitlement. Her social media pages looked like museums dedicated to excess and superiority. But behind the glamorous appearance was a disturbing history. Place. Her father, Richard Whitmore, had spent decades building one of the most powerful defense firms in Manhattan. He defended wealthy clients, celebrities, corrupt executives, and influential people who needed problems to disappear quietly. Over time, place, his name became associated with legal intimidation, aggressive settlements, and courtroom victories purchased through power and fear. Madison grew up inside that environment. To her, courtrooms were not places where truth mattered. Place. They were places where money controlled outcomes, and because of that, Madison had already escaped consequences again and again. She had previously been arrested for assault after violently attacking a waiter inside an upscale restaurant. Place. Charges disappeared. She had been caught with illegal drugs at a private party in the Hamptons. Charges disappeared. She had previously been involved in another serious vehicle incident that nearly killed a delivery driver. That incident disappeared too. Place. Every time something happened, her father's attorneys handled it quietly before it could damage her reputation. So when she walked into Judge Judy's courtroom that morning, Madison believed this would simply become another funny story for social media. Place. She expected to embarrass a television judge, go viral online, and walk away laughing. Instead, she walked directly into the worst mistake of her life. Judge Judy calmly asked her to remove the sunglasses. Madison laughed. Place. Judge Judy repeated the request politely. Madison leaned forward, stared directly at her, and delivered the sentence that instantly changed the entire room. "Honey, my dad eats judges like you for breakfast." The silence afterward felt suffocating. Place. No one moved. No one spoke. Judge Judy remained completely still for several long seconds that somehow felt endless. The court reporter stopped typing. The bailiff adjusted his stance carefully. Place. Even Madison's friends slowly lowered their phones as uncertainty crept across their faces. For the first time all morning, Madison's confidence flickered slightly. Somewhere deep inside her mind, place, instinct finally whispered that something had gone horribly wrong. But by then, it was too late. What happened next would explode across the internet, trigger federal investigations, destroy a famous law firm, place, and turn Madison Whitmore into one of the most hated wealthy socialites in America. But before the courtroom collapsed around her, there was someone else whose story mattered far more: Sarah Chin. Place. Because Sarah was not just another plaintiff filing a small claims case. Sarah Chin was a 31-year-old pediatric nurse working exhausting overnight shifts at a children's hospital in Queens. Every night, place. She cared for critically ill children while carrying the crushing exhaustion of her own personal grief. Years earlier, Sarah had immigrated to America from Taiwan as a child. She learned English slowly, worked multiple jobs during nursing school, and eventually built a quiet, hard-working life with her husband, David. David worked construction. He was kind, dependable, and deeply devoted to his family. Then one day, scaffolding collapsed at a Manhattan construction site and killed him instantly. Everything changed after that. Sarah became a widow overnight. She became a single mother raising twin daughters completely alone. She barely slept anymore. Her life turned into an endless cycle of hospital shifts, childcare responsibilities, overdue bills, exhaustion, and grief she never truly had time to process. Still, she kept moving forward. For years, she saved every spare dollar she could manage until she finally bought a used silver Honda Civic. The car was not luxurious. It was not impressive. But to Sarah, it represented survival. It took her to work. It carried her daughters to school. It allowed her family to function. Without it, everything became harder. Then came the night that destroyed it all, at approximately 3:00 a.m. While Sarah was inside the hospital comforting a child undergoing cancer treatment, Madison Whitmore left an upscale Manhattan nightclub heavily intoxicated and sped through a red light driving her father's Bentley. She slammed directly into Sarah's parked Honda at enormous speed. The impact destroyed the vehicle instantly. Witnesses later described the crash as explosive, but Madison never called for help. She called her father within minutes. Representatives connected to the Whitmore family arrived at the scene. Conversations happened privately. Money changed hands. Official paperwork vanished. By morning, Sarah walked outside after her exhausting hospital shift and found her car gone. A few days later, she received a legal letter from the Whitmore law firm offering a tiny settlement amount that barely covered a fraction of the damage. The letter also contained a warning disguised as legal language, implying that challenging the Whitmore family would financially ruin her. For the next several months, Sarah's life spiraled into chaos. She spent money she did not have on rides to work. She missed shifts because transportation failed. She nearly lost her apartment. Her daughters cried because their routines disappeared. And all while Madison continued posting luxury photos online, pretending nothing had happened. Judge Judy became Sarah's final chance for justice. Meanwhile, Madison spent those same months treating the situation like an inconvenience. Her social media continued displaying luxury dinners, yacht vacations, champagne parties, and mocking captions aimed at ordinary people. She openly celebrated wealth as if it made her superior. People online laughed with her until the courtroom hearing changed everything. What Madison never imagined was that someone inside her father's own law firm had finally developed a conscience. A young paralegal working for the Whitmore firm had spent years helping bury scandals involving Madison. Over time, the guilt became unbearable. Quietly, anonymously, she collected evidence tied to several incidents the firm had hidden from public view. Then she mailed the documents directly to Judge Judy. Inside the sealed package was devastating information involving Madison's history, hidden settlements, bribery allegations, manipulated police reports, and a horrific hit-and-run case involving a delivery driver named Marcus Davis, who had been permanently paralyzed. Madison knew none of this. She walked into the courtroom, believing she controlled the situation. The hearing began badly, almost immediately. Madison arrived late, chewing gum loudly while wearing AirPods and sunglasses inside the courtroom. Her friends recorded videos from the audience while she ignored instructions from court staff. Across the room, Sarah sat silently in wrinkled nursing scrubs after finishing another overnight shift. She clutched a folder filled with receipts, documents, and photographs while trying desperately not to break down emotionally. Judge Judy watched both women carefully. Then she asked Madison to remove the sunglasses. Madison responded dramatically. Then Judge Judy asked her to remove the AirPods too. Madison rolled her eyes and sarcastically complained about an expensive lunch reservation she did not want to miss. The audience reacted immediately, but Madison kept talking. She mocked Sarah's car. She mocked Sarah's financial situation. She mocked the fact that Sarah drove a Honda while she drove luxury vehicles. At one point, she even mocked Sarah's accent while laughing openly. Several people in the courtroom gasped. Sarah's hands shook uncontrollably. Judge Judy remained calm. Then the questioning began. Civil questions at first. What did Madison do for work? Place. How did she support herself financially? What was her driving history? Madison answered confidently. She claimed her record was spotless. That single lie became the beginning of her destruction. Place. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly and asked whether Madison understood the seriousness of the situation. Madison laughed again. Then came the sentence that would follow her forever. My dad eats judges like you for breakfast. Place. Silence filled the courtroom once more. This time, Judge Judy finally moved. Slowly, she reached into a drawer beside the bench and removed a thick file packed with documents. The moment Madison saw the file, her expression changed. Place. Judge Judy began reading aloud, one incident after another: driving under the influence, dangerous speeding, reckless endangerment, leaving accident scenes, dismissed charges, buried complaints, manipulated outcomes. Place. The courtroom listened in stunned silence as years of hidden behavior surfaced publicly for the very first time. Madison's confidence vanished rapidly. Place. Judge Judy continued describing a pattern involving dozens of incidents connected to Madison over several years. Elderly victims, students, workers, nurses, drivers. Every case ended the same way. Tiny settlements, threats aggressive of legal intimidation. Place. And silence. Judge Judy explained how people had been financially pressured into giving up because they feared the Whitmore family's influence. Then came the sealed envelope. The courtroom became completely silent. Place. Judge Judy described the hit and run involving Marcus Davis, a delivery driver and father whose spine had been permanently damaged after Madison struck him while intoxicated. The details horrified everyone listening. Evidence had allegedly been hidden. Place. Witnesses pressured, medical reports manipulated, silence purchased through legal agreements. Marcus Davis's entire family had suffered for years, while Madison continued living a glamorous life online. At that point, Place. Madison completely collapsed emotionally. She began crying uncontrollably, screaming that the information was privileged and threatening lawsuits against everyone involved. Judge Judy cut directly through the panic. Place. Privilege ends where obstruction of justice begins. Then came the ruling. Judge Judy referred the case for immediate criminal prosecution involving multiple allegations tied to perjury, obstruction, and vehicular misconduct. Place. Sarah Chin received the maximum civil judgment available. The whistleblower evidence was forwarded to federal investigators, and Judge Judy formally recommended a complete ethics investigation into Richard Whitmore and his law firm. Finally, Place. She instructed the bailiff to take Madison into custody immediately. The same woman who walked into court laughing and mocking. Everyone collapsed onto the courtroom floor, screaming for her father, while handcuffs closed around her wrists. Place. Her expensive handbag spilled across the floor beside her. Her mascara ran down her face. Her friends sat frozen in shock. And across the courtroom, Sarah Chin quietly cried from pure relief after months of fear and helplessness. Place. The audience erupted into applause, but the destruction had only just begun. The clip exploded online almost instantly. Millions watched Madison transform from arrogant socialite to terrified defendant in real time. Place. Public outrage spread across every major platform. Her social media accounts became flooded with criticism before eventually disappearing entirely. Place. Former victims began contacting investigators after finally realizing someone powerful had publicly challenged the Whitmore family. Meanwhile, strangers across the country donated enormous amounts of money to help Sarah rebuild her life. Place. The federal investigation expanded rapidly. Journalists uncovered allegations involving bribery, witness intimidation, hidden settlements, and corruption connected to Richard Whitmore's law firm. Clients abandoned the firm. Employees resigned. Place. Partners fled. Investigators eventually uncovered evidence suggesting widespread misconduct stretching back years. Richard Whitmore, the attorney who spent decades controlling courtrooms, suddenly found himself facing criminal investigations instead. Place. His empire collapsed publicly. Buttress Patrats were seized, accounts frozen, Lego licenses threatened. And for the first time in decades, people connected to the Whitmore family could no longer bury the truth. Meanwhile, Sarah Chin's life slowly improved. Place. She paid off debts, bought reliable transportation, moved her daughters into a safer neighborhood. And despite receiving national attention, she continued working as a nurse because she believed her patients still needed her. Place. People across the country connected deeply with her story because she represented something painfully familiar. An ordinary, hardworking person crushed by wealth and power. And for once, justice had actually fought back. Place. The story eventually became symbolic, far beyond one courtroom hearing. Not because Madison Whitmore fell, not because a wealthy law firm collapsed. place. But because millions of people watched an exhausted single mother finally realize that the law could still protect someone like her too, and that became the moment audiences never forgot. Not the screaming, not the handcuffs, not the viral outrage. But Sarah Chin sitting quietly in that courtroom, realizing she had finally been heard. Because money can buy lawyers, it can buy delays, it can buy influence. But eventually, someone always walks into the wrong courtroom on the wrong day. And on that day, no family name is bigger than the truth.